And we are back with more on News Talk Saga 960. So very glad you could join us on this edition of the Mark Petrona Show. And it is that time again when we love to chat with Andy Lee of the Real Andy Lee Show. And she's going to have a terrific new website out there, a YouTube channel. You'll be able to watch her stuff there as she continues her investigative work, doing the work that a lot of the mainstream media either doesn't want to do or can't do, including an awesome story that we actually reported on last week regarding a company that a Canadian-based company, a Canada-based company. It was out in British Columbia. They got a huge contract to produce rapid test COVID antigen tests. I guess they were antigen tests. Is that right, Andy?
Yeah. So they're rapid antigen tests. So yeah, we've got $4 to $8 billion in the budget for these sort of tests. And well, there's some funny things going on behind the scenes with them. So that's sort of the latest story that I'm working on.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about some of those funny things, including the fact that they said that they were going to be producing these testing kits in Canada. That's if you go onto their website. In fact, we listened to the video earlier. They said, yeah, it's 100% Canadian. And in fact, you found out that they were not 100% Canadian, and you've been doing some investigative work around that, correct?
Yeah, so the laboratory is called Artron Bioresearch, and they have a laboratory in Burnaby, BC. So yeah, if you go onto their website, their claims are that they make rapid tests and they're 100% made in Canada. And these tests were licensed and approved by Health Canada. And Health Canada is sort of the authorized distributor for these tests. But what we found is that there's a warehouse with bill of ladings that are addressed to Artron in a sort of a shabby location in Richmond, BC, and there's no really documentation as to the location. And these bill of ladings are all from China, so they come from a lab called Oshuang, and it's in Shandong, China. And so these are all the test components that you would sort of need to assemble rapid tests. And these boxes are all addressed to Artron Laboratories, which is apparently making all made in Canada products. So it's very suspicious.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think they've made some changes to their website.
Have they really?
Since you started.
Since you last talked, I'm not surprised they're on the run.
Yeah. I mean, it was Atron.
Because we have
Artron Labs, right? ArtronLab.com.
Yeah. So it's a good thing that we recorded that last one where we played that message saying that it was 100% made in Canada. So we do have that document.
Yeah. All of a sudden, yeah, maybe it's not so made in Canada.
Oh,
but,
okay.
Yeah. So but you had the proof. You got the proof, and good for you for doing it.
So you know what? It wouldn't be the first time that somebody's changed their website because of something that I was nosy into. So I'm not surprised. So yeah, so this story all started when I was sent chats. I was sent some chats from from Chinese workers, and so I didn't know what these chats said, so I had them translated. I've got a really good following in the international community, and so I asked people to translate these chats. And so these looked like they were between workers and management, and the workers were complaining about bad working conditions, saying that they weren't being paid properly, saying that the management was horrible. They were worried about being exposed to toxic chemicals. And so these chats originated from workers in this warehouse. Now, if you try to look this warehouse up, you won't find it anywhere. There's no registry, there's no business license attached to it that I can find. It's not documented anywhere. If you go to the warehouse, and I sent people to the warehouse, it doesn't look like anything. It looks like an energy company. That's what the outside says. So there's no identifiers on it that this is a warehouse that's sort of manufacturing rapid tests for Health Canada. So, it's very, very suspicious. And again, all of these boxes, and we've got videos of them, none of this stuff is coming from Canada. It's all being imported. I've got the import lists, and basically all this company does is imports test components from Oshuang in China. And so, I mean, that claim at the very least is false.
Right. And so I want to read your tweet here. Would you like to see how rapid test kits are really produced in Canada? They are assembled in a warehouse with a fake storefront in unsanitary conditions, allegedly now, because this is according to some of the workers. All right, this is so you've got documents from like testimony from some of the workers, Chinese labor, who say that they have been mistreated, and in fact, that some of the conditions may even be unsafe. And so then you said, I'll be going to Health Canada and the FDA with my investigation. And then you said, well, we finally have a Health Canada inspector assigned to the case. When? So talk about this latest development now. How did you learn that Health Canada was in fact inspecting this facility?
Well, they haven't inspected it yet. I started
Okay.
contacting them immediately. I got
Okay.
sort of, punted around from department to department, but it seems like we finally have an inspector that's actually assigned to the case that will be looking into the case. Now, they can't really speak for the worker claims, but they are in charge of sort of the medical device component. So this is sort of this is a compounded investigation. So on one hand, we have these tests that are being produced, in questionable conditions. If you want to put up some of the other parts of those pictures and those tweets, you'll see that the components are sort of strewn around this warehouse. These aren't the conditions that you would sort of expect rapid tests to be assembled in. There's questions of contamination and things like that. So they're looking into the medical device part of this. And the other part is that I brought up that, obviously these companies' claims were false and these tests are not being manufactured in Canada and all. They're being imported. Another part of that is that I've actually got filings from the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. So last year, these tests were, I'm going to say blacklisted, but the proper term is that they're actually red listed. So these shipments of antigen tests by Artron Laboratories were being seized by the FDA last year, and there's documentation of that as well, because there was questions about the components of the test and their efficacy. So these were tests that were, sort of taken off the market in the United States, but for whatever reason, were given the green light from Health Canada. So, and we usually follow each other very, very closely in regulatory approval. So there's some questions there as to, how come this test was, red listed last year and now all of a sudden February 2022, they're given the green light in Canada. And, coincidentally, the same time that these tests were approved in Canada, Health Canada issued a recall notice on their website. And so the recall notice on their website states that they have concerns as to what is in some rapid tests, and they bring up that some of the tests could be toxic. So that's on Health Canada's website, and this sort of coincided with these tests being approved. So, I have a lot of questions when I've got also workers bringing up the same sort of concerns that, what is in specifically, what is on the swabs? Are there any, preservatives on the swabs that you put up your nose? And, what's in the extraction buffers? Are there any, any toxic components in the extraction buffers? And so I've got a recorded phone call to the laboratory asking just those questions. And
I want to play this video because I did locate it.
yeah, oh, okay.
This is the Artron lab, basically promotional video talking about what they do. Let's listen.
Leader in innovation, we perfected our processes to be able to bring you cutting-edge technology
that works faster, more efficiently, and more reliably than any other product on the market.
Our technology development is proprietary, and its results are unparalleled in the industry,
allowing us to bring you exactly what you need, not only more quickly and efficiently, but with more accuracy and sensitivity.
With tests for fertility, infectious diseases, drugs of abuse, cardiac and tumor markers, GMOs, and food safety.
Artron has a range of products that remains unrivaled by any other company in the world.
We have it all here, 100% made in Canada. We do everything in-house, from the initial development of antibodies
to your final rapid test kit.
And they got a Chinese guy saying, Do your rapid test. So there it is.
It is, right? So there's the claims.
They're bragging, bragging about 100%. There it is, 100% made in Canada. We do everything in-house, Andy, from the initial development of the antibodies to your final rapid test kit. But I don't know.
I can't say for sure, like, have I seen them, myself with my own eyes putting these together? But no, there's definitely photos of workers in this warehouse. And I mean, the fact is that these bill of ladings are all originating from China, and they're addressed to Artron laboratories.
All
and
right.
they have COVID rapid test kits. So I mean, I'm pretty much considering that a smoking gun on that issue.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Health Canada was not that eager to investigate this because at first they told you this is not our bailiwick, and they tried to punt it.
Yeah, so I got the runaround for quite a bit, but now finally I've sort of got somebody who's going to be looking into it. Although again, they don't seem overly concerned. I mean, I'm definitely concerned by what I've seen. These aren't the conditions that you would think these tests would be handled under. These are tests that are distributed. Let's assume, under the assumption that these are the Health Canada licensed rapid tests, there is another stretch in that this could be counterfeit tests. But given that, the documents inside the warehouse say that these are going to Artron laboratories, I find it unlikely that this is sort of a counterfeit operation at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, obviously, you don't know that, and so that would have to be investigated. There is a story recently that ran on City News. Looks like a Canadian Press type deal, but how a Canadian manufacturer of COVID rapid test is working to meet the crushing demand, and it's talking about Artron. And this is a story that dates back to January. With the highly transmissible Omicron variant resulting in thousands of new COVID cases in Canada, the arduous quest of trying to secure reliable access to rapid antigen tests. Sounds like they wrote this based on a press release from Artron. Rapid antigen is one that's ramped up in recent days. However, despite a rise in Canadian companies manufacturing personal protective equipment throughout the pandemic, the number of domestic companies approved to sell rapid test kits remains low. As of January the 6th, Artron Laboratories in Burnaby, BC, is just one of two companies authorized by Health Canada to sell and produce highly sought rapid antigen tests. The other one is one based in Markham, BTNX. And I mean, it doesn't talk about the fact that it's done in Canada, but you could see on the website that they brag about it. That's probably why they got the contract in the first place, is that they touted themselves as a domestic producer of these tests, right?
Yeah. So I mean, at the very least, they've got to answer some questions, because what they've put out is very misleading. Second of all, they have to sort of answer why this operation is set up, and there's no sort of paper trail, and there's no documentation. There's no business license, there's no identifiable information in this warehouse, unless you can, look at those bill and ladings and get them translated and realize that they're going to Artron laboratories. So this isn't the typical setup you would think for, a licensed distributor of Health Canada products. You would think that it would be very professional. Everything would be displayed, et cetera, et cetera. So that's not happening here. So, lots of concerning. And then, so that's sort of Health Canada's thing to deal with. And then again, right after these tests were approved, we got this recall notice saying that there was a possibility of toxic products and toxic agents being contained in rapid test kits. And I mean, keep in mind, these Artron test kits, they're sent home with school children in BC. Right? School kids take these home, and Artron themselves says that these are not, if you listen to the video recording that I've got, and it's very, very interesting. We should play part of it.
You spoke with Artron? You spoke
No,
with them?
so somebody else spoke with them. They spoke with a Dr. Uma, and she's been quoted several times in the news as a spokesperson. And so somebody called this Dr. Uma and asked what was in these test kits. And so Dr. Uma said that was not privy to the public. It was not end user information, that Health Canada had the information, and that it was up to Health Canada to decide whether they were going to, sort of allow that information to be made public when they distribute the tests. And so all the ingredients in the tests are not listed. They specifically brought up there's one component, it's sodium azide, and so this is a really toxic component. It's very, very harmful if kids or pets get a hold of it or swallow it, things like that. And this has happened. So it's a big concern. And so they specifically pressed Artron as to whether this was used in their buffers, and they wouldn't answer the question. And, but they did insist that everything was completely safe. But it's sort of like, well, if
Yeah, I
everything's
mean,
safe, why are you not being forward about it, right?
okay, so do you have
Why hold information?
you've reached out to Artron though, correct?
So
You've
yes,
asked- okay, so are you still waiting for them to get back to you?
yeah. So I called them several
Okay.
times. Nobody's gotten back
They
to
have
me.
not responded to you yet?
No. So
Okay.
the good thing is that I did call WorkSafe BC today. So Health
Okay, right.
also directed me towards WorkSafe BC. So I reached out to them this morning. They were very, very prompt in getting back to me. So I'm very impressed with that. I've spoken to 3 people today from WorkSafe BC. So they're aware of the situation. They're taking it very seriously. They're getting ready to take next steps and to get somebody out there to sort of
Okay.
to
So we
stop
look forward to hearing back from Artron to give us their side of all this, as well as your any advancers that you have on this story. Great work, so far. It's been fascinating stuff to see.
Well,
Thank you, Andy.
we're using these, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
you saw the pictures. Is this what you would expect from a Canadian, medical device?
Well, if a company says it's Canadian produced, then you expect that they are made in Canada, not brought in from China, made in Canada, shipped into Canada, assembled in a facility, and then have workers at that facility complain about conditions there in Chinese because we're not even sure if they're Canadian. And so something's up. And so good for Health Canada, at least finally picking up the ball here. And so next steps, you're going to stay on top of this story. And so we're going to hear more in the future, correct?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm in contact with Health Canada, and I'm in contact with WorkSafe BC, and we said that we're going to keep each other posted. They're trying to find somebody who's very fluent to send out to the warehouse, just to talk to the workers and sort of get firsthand accountings and things like that, and talk to them and see whether they feel like there's exploitation and things like that happening as well.
Okay.
So big story.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Fantastic. All right. Andy Lee, the Real Andy Lee Show. And you can check out her YouTube channel, our YouTube channel, because I'm a collaborator in this as well. So you can watch these videos as well on the Real Andy Lee Show. Check out the YouTube channel. There's going to be a Rumble channel. There's going to be a website, all sorts of additions to that, all sorts of great content to come. Got to take a quick commercial break for the radio audience. Back with more on News Talk Saga 960 and the Mark Petroni Show after this. Thank you.